For ages, haven't we been fascinated by the idea of, creating artificial life? Think way back. Myths.
Oh, absolutely. Cadmus's warriors, Galatea.
Right. Statues coming to life, gods making mechanical helpers, all that.
And then you fast forward and you see these incredible early mechanical devices popping up. China, India, Alexandria.
It's this long thread, isn't it? Imagining and then actually making these things.
It really is this persistent human urge, not just to understand, but to build counterparts, maybe even better versions. It runs deep.
And now here we are, taking these physical things, robots, and giving them, well, artificial intelligence. It's a huge shift.
A massive shift.
So to really get our heads around it, we need to look at what robot and AI even mean. Not just for us, but maybe how does an AI see it?
Exactly. It's moving past technology as just a simple tool, towards these more autonomous systems interacting with the world, complex ways.
Okay, so for this deep dive, we've got some really interesting stuff. Excerpts from Human and AI Robot Understanding, Analysis and Impact. Our mission basically is to pull out the key insights. How do we see robots? How does AI see them? What's the impact? The ethical questions. All of it.
Sounds good. It's a crucial conversation to have right now.
So, definitions first. Where do we start pinning down what a robot even is?
Well, let's trace that story. From those early automata to the AI machines today, it's quite a journey.
The actual word robot is pretty recent, relatively speaking.
It is, yeah. Really came into the public sphere with Karel Epik's play R.U.R. back in 1921.
Rossum's Universal Robots.
That's the one. And robot comes from the Czech robota, meaning like serfdom or forced labor.
Huh. So the name itself has that built-in idea of servitude.
Right from the start.
Yeah.
And Epik's vision, well, it wasn't exactly utopian, was it?
No, definitely not. Pretty dark stuff. Robots getting smarter, turning on the humans.
It grabbed attention for sure, but it also planted that seed of anxiety about artificial creations.
A fear that still comes up all the time. But then jump to the 40s, you get Isaac Asimov.
Right, and he really popularized robots in sci-fi, and crucially gave us the 3 laws of robotics.
Ah, yes.
A really early, influential attempt to think about ethics for these things. Don't harm humans, obey orders, protect yourself.
They're so baked into our cultural understanding.
Yeah.
But moving from fiction to, actual factories, that was mid-century.
Precisely. General Motors, the Unimate robot, introduced 58, working on a line by 61.
The beginning of industrial robotics.
Yeah, as the kickoff, yeah. Driven by wanting fewer errors, better safety, more efficiency.
And since then, they've gone everywhere, not just factories.
Oh, totally. Deep sea, space exploration, military use, search and rescue. Healthcare is a big one now. The applications are just exploding.
But the big game changer now, as we said, is sticking AI into them. They're not just programmed arms anymore.
Exactly. That's the core difference. Traditional robots execute preset instructions. AI-powered robots.
Yeah.
They can perceive, they can learn, they can make decisions intelligently, without needing every single step spelled out.
It's that combination that's so powerful.
Truly revolutionary. It brings us back to that old human impulse, doesn't it? Wanting helpers, companions.
But now with smarts we couldn't imagine before.
Right. And our source material really emphasizes this. It's not just tech for tech's sake. It digs into fundamental questions about being human, creativity, pushing limits.
All those old themes, utility, entertainment, and yeah, that fear from APEC. They're all right here in our current AI debates.
Absolutely. And those Asimov laws, while groundbreaking, they hit limits fast with complex, real-world moral choices.
Yeah, you can see how they'd struggle.
They do. Their abstractness, the difficulty of actually programming that kind of nuanced judgment, it shows how hard it is to embed human values into AI, which is, a central problem in AI governance today.
Okay, so that's the human angle on the history, but how does AI itself understand a robot? Must be totally different.
Oh, completely different lens. For an AI, a robot is basically a system. A physical machine, yeah, but one augmented with AI to sense, learn, decide, all to perform tasks.
So purely functional.
Purely functional. It's algorithms analyzing data, acting on the environment, achieving goals. No consciousness, no subjective experience, just input, processing, output.
Kind of inputs. Sensors.
Right. Cameras, LiDAR, that's laser mapping thing, radar, motion detectors. It uses all that data to build a model of its environment, figure out what to do, and then control the robot's physical parts.
And from the AI's perspective, what are the big pluses of this combination?
Well, the AI sees several key advantages. Enhanced autonomy. Obviously, it can adapt beyond simple programming, much better perception and interaction.
Like understanding us?
Yeah, through things like NLP, natural language processing for speech and text, computer vision or CV for images, and combining data from multiple sensors, sensor fusion, so it can recognize objects, understand requests, even read emotions as data patterns.
And the learning part.
Crucial. Machine learning, deep learning, ML, and DL allow it to adapt and improve over time. Plus, faster data processing, and even predicting when it needs maintenance.
So its understanding is entirely based on its programming and the data it's learned from.
Precisely. Think of an autonomous mobile robot, an AMR, in a warehouse. The AI understands its job is moving stuff from A to B based on algorithms interpreting sensor data. It's incredibly sophisticated pattern matching, but zero human-like intuition or feeling about the task.
Just a means to a programmed end.
Exactly. Which is fine, until that end isn't perfectly aligned with what we actually want or need, ethically speaking. If an AI designed robots, it would prioritize pure utility and performance. Social nuances, ethical considerations, probably not on its radar unless explicitly programmed in.
And that reliance on data, it brings in the whole bias issue, doesn't it?
Big time. And AI doesn't get biased like we do. It just processes data. If the training data has biases baked in, maybe reflecting historical inequalities or just bad data collection,
Then the robot acts out those biases.
it encodes them right into its behavior. It might follow inefficient routes or, in more serious cases, exhibit discriminatory patterns without any awareness it's doing so. It just sees patterns in the data.
So a very different, very functional understanding. Let's contrast that now with how we understand robots. It's much messier, right?
Oh, completely. Our understanding is colored by emotions, personal history, culture, and this really strong tendency we have, anthropomorphism.
Attributing human qualities to them.
Exactly. Intentions, motivations, even feelings, especially if they look or act somewhat human. We form emotional bonds.
Sometimes some strong ones.
We do. People feel empathy if a robot seems to be suffering. We see it used therapeutically in mental health care, providing comfort, security.
Especially for maybe kids with autism or patients with dementia.
Those are key examples, yeah. And the robot's appearance, its voice, huge impact. Human-like features often get a positive response.
But then you hit the uncanny valley.
Exactly, that point where it's almost human, but something's just off, slightly wrong movements, maybe the eyes, the skin texture.
Yeah, it gives you the creeps. Like the Actroid robots or Geminoids.
Those are classic examples. It triggers this unease, sometimes even revulsion. Our brains flag it as not quite right.
And our understanding isn't universal either. Culture plays a huge role. Media, personal experience.
For sure. Studies often suggest, for example, more positive attitudes towards human-like robots in Japan compared to maybe Europe or the US.
Why is that?
It could be complex cultural factors, philosophical traditions like Shinto animism, maybe more positive portrayals in popular culture over there. Even concepts like Anshinkan, this feeling of security or managed anxiety associated with technology.
Interesting. So we're more accepting if they fit our cultural norms.
Generally, yes. And our perception also changes based on how much agency we think the robot has and the context of the interaction. Is it just a tool or acting on its own?
And anthropomorphism itself, it's like a cognitive shortcut, right?
Yeah.
Evolved for dealing with other people.
That's the thinking. It helps us navigate social situations quickly. But applying it to robots, well, it can help with acceptance, like in therapy.
But it also creates vulnerabilities.
Definitely. Unrealistic expectations. Emotional dependency, misinterpreting programmed actions as genuine feelings. And like the source says, the cultural stories we tell helpful servant or scary overlords really precondition how we approach them, influencing design choices, ethical lines, everything.
Okay, so pulling this together, there are these massive differences between AI capabilities and human intelligence when it comes to perceiving robots.
Fundamental differences. AI, great at algorithmic processing, pattern recognition, learning from data. Human intelligence, emotional capacity, subjective awareness, real creativity from experience, inherent moral judgment, adapting to totally new things.
AI can simulate human behavior, even recognize our emotions from data.
But it doesn't understand the meaning. It doesn't feel anger or joy. AI perception is functional, get the job done. Human perception is embodied, subjective, full of meaning, memory, social context.
That idea of qualia, the actual feeling of seeing red or being happy.
Exactly. AI can identify the label anger, but it doesn't experience the qual of anger. We bring that rich subjective world to every interaction, even with robots.
So for AI, A robot or a person is just an abstract data model. For us, it's multisensory, emotional, contextual.
Completely different realities, and that impacts trust massively.
How so?
Well, human-to-human trust is built on perceived intentions, shared values, emotional resonance, theory of mind, knowing the other person has a mind like yours. AI lacks all that.
So trust in a robot is more functional reliability.
Exactly. Is it predictable? Does it do its job safely? It's not that deep social trust. And the source calls this a hazard, applying our human trust psychology to robots. It can lead to misplaced confidence or maybe undue suspicion.
Okay, fascinating distinctions. Now, underlying all this technology are the hard sciences, logic, and some really deep philosophical questions it forces us to ask.
Absolutely. Robots, especially AI-driven ones, are built on physics, math, and logic.
Let's start with physics. How does that underpin robotics?
Well, basic mechanics is key. You've got kinematics studying motion itself without the forces. Position, velocity, acceleration of the robot's parts.
Like figuring out where the robot arm will end up.
Right. That's forward kinematics joint angles to end effector position, often using matrix math. Inverse kinematics is the opposite. Where do you want the hand to be? What joint angles do you need? Simple equations like V plus at are the bedrock.
And dynamics. That brings in the forces.
Exactly. Dynamics looks at why things move, the forces and torques involved. Gravity, friction, inertia, the power from the motors. Understanding this is critical for stable, efficient control.
Makes sense. And math must be everywhere in both AI and robotics.
Oh, absolutely essential. Linear algebra for representing space, positions, transformations, states in ML models, calculus for continuous motion, planning paths, optimization like gradient descent in AI training.
And probability for dealing with uncertainty.
Crucial. The real world is messy, sensors aren't perfect. Probability theory lets robots handle that uncertainty. Think probabilistic robotics using things like Bayesian inference for localization, mapping, making decisions when you don't have all the facts. Bayes' theorem is fundamental there.
So math provides the language and the tools. What about logic?
Computational logic, propositional, predicate logic, that's the foundation for AI reasoning, knowledge representation, planning. Rule-based systems, expert systems, use if-then logic to guide actions, ensure consistency, make decisions verifiable.
And robots often have multiple sensors, cameras, lasers, motion sensors. How does it integrate all that data?
That's sensor fusion, combining data from different sources, camera, LiDAR, IMUs, etc., to get a more accurate, reliable picture than any single sensor could provide.
Putting the puzzle pieces together?
Pretty much, and it happens at different levels. Low-level fuses raw data, medium-level fuses extracted features, high-level fuses decisions. Each has trade-off.
Sounds incredibly complex to manage in real time.
It is. And while these formalisms, math, logic, are powerful because they abstract the world, that's also a weakness. They simplify. When a robot hits something truly novel or ambiguous,
The models might break down.
Exactly. And sensor fusion, while improving perception, adds complexity, synchronization, calibration, handling conflicting data, the sheer computational load.
So always trade-offs. Now, stepping back from the science, AI and robotics really push us into deep philosophical territory, don't they?
They absolutely do. They force questions about intelligence, consciousness, what it even means to be, blurring lines between natural and artificial, human and machine.
Like, can a machine really think? Is its intelligence the same as ours?
Core questions. Can it have a mind? Mental states. Be conscious. Experience qualia, that subjective feeling of things.
Mind-bending stuff. Are philosophers agreed on any of this?
Not really. There's a big divide. Some argue consciousness arises from our specific biology, so machines can't have it. Others think if AI replicates the brain's processes sufficiently, consciousness might emerge regardless of the substrate silicon versus neurons.
And what about sentience, the ability to feel?
That's another huge one. If robots could feel pleasure, pain, suffering, that changes everything ethically. We'd have to consider their welfare, maybe even grant them protections.
Robot rights.
Yeah.
Wow, and it goes further.
Oh, yeah. Can machines have emotions? Self-awareness, true creativity, benevolence or malevolence, a soul. These challenge our very definition of human, of personhood.
And this isn't just abstract navel-gazing, right? It has real consequences.
Absolutely. The consciousness debate impacts how we value, treat, potentially grant rights to advanced AI. Sentience could force a total rethink of ethics, moving beyond Asimov's laws towards actual moral obligations towards the machines.
And it reflects back on us, on what makes us unique.
Precisely. If machines replicate our abilities, what's left that defines human? It could trigger an identity crisis or maybe a shift to focus on embodiment, vulnerability, subjective experience. Some research even suggests we might downplay agency as uniquely human as robot agency increases just to maintain our sense of specialness.
A constant renegotiation of us versus them. Now, AI and robotics aren't just products of science, they're changing science itself.
Very much so. They're catalysts. AI tools, like large language models, are transforming research, generating text, processing massive data sets, finding subtle patterns faster than any human could, accelerating discovery.
Like superpowered research assistants.
In a way. And general-purpose robots in labs. They automate experiments with high precision, consistency, improves reproducibility, bridges models with physical tests. AI knowledge synthesis also helps break down disciplinary silos.
And AI's history is intertwined with other fields already.
Definitely. Neuroscience inspired neural nets. Formal logic led to things like the Turing test. Computer science used game AI, like chess, as milestones.
And looking ahead, could science become fully automated?
Well, people are talking about an autonomous general scientist integrating agentic AI with robotics to potentially handle the whole research cycle, hypothesis, experiment, analysis, autonomously.
Wow. So what's left for human scientists?
The role likely shifts. More strategic oversight, critical evaluation of AI hypotheses, interpreting complex findings, requires new skills.
Conducting the AI research orchestra.
Good analogy. And this will likely accelerate the blurring of disciplinary lines. Tackling big global problems, climate change, pandemics needs that cross-disciplinary approach, and AI is uniquely suited to process those diverse data sets, genomic, environmental, social, driving holistic research and maybe new hybrid fields.
A really exciting, potentially transformative era for science. Okay, let's shift focus now to the human psyche and social fabric. How are robots affecting us psychologically, emotionally, socially? This gets really personal.
It does. Introducing intelligent machines triggers a whole spectrum of responses, from deep emotional attachment to intense fear and social disruption.
Let's unpack the psychological impacts first.
Yeah.
Emotional bonds, fear, trust, that uncanny valley.
Right. Anthropomorphism is key, again, projecting human traits onto robots. Leads to emotional bonds, especially with humanoid or social robots. We see empathy for suffering robots, people helping them.
Useful in therapy, as we mentioned.
Absolutely. Companionship, security for those who struggle with human interaction.
And appearance matters hugely.
It does. Human-like features often elicit positive feelings, but then, boom, the uncanny valley. That almost human but not quite look triggers unease, discomfort.
That creepy feeling.
Exactly. And fear is another common reaction. Fear of job loss, or just general unease with their appearance or behavior.
And trust. It's complicated with robots, isn't it?
Very. We apply social norms, infer intent. But the source calls this a hazard. Can lead to over-trusting a seemingly friendly machine or underestimating its programmed nature. We see both over-trust and under-trust happening. There are also concerns about deception robots designed to mislead or emergent deception. Though context matters, people might accept a white lie from a medical robot caring for someone with dementia.
And robots are getting better at reading our emotions, too.
Yes. AI enables that through NLP, computer vision, sensor fusion. Service robots in healthcare might adapt based on a patient's tone, and we, in turn, perceive emotion in robot movements. How human-like their expressions seem influences how well we interact.
So it's this paradox. Anthropomorphism allows helpful bonds, but also creates uncanny discomfort, fear of manipulation, maybe unhealthy dependency.
Exactly. Designing acceptable robots means understanding this complex psychology. Balancing relatable features without hitting the valley, managing expectations, acknowledging the ambiguity of interacting with an intelligent, non-living other, and remembering robot trust isn't human trust. It lacks that deep social-emotional layer, though maybe the uncanny valley fades with familiarity. Who knows?
Beyond direct emotions, how do robots influence our overall state of mind? Concentration, well-being.
They definitely have an effect, but it really varies. Depends on the robot, the context, the design.
What are some negative impacts?
Well, in industry, sometimes robots are linked to poorer mental health for workers. Stress, depression, job insecurity, maybe work becoming monotonous, less meaningful. And interestingly, just having a humanoid robot watching you can sometimes hurt performance on focused tasks.
Like performance anxiety, but with a robot.
Sort of. Distraction, cognitive load, maybe feeling monitored. The Yerkes-Dodson law applies too much arousal, hinders concentration.
But there are positives, too.
Oh, absolutely. Social robots can boost mood, enhance cognition, improve quality of life for vulnerable groups, kids with ASD, older adults with cognitive decline. They offer engagement, reduce loneliness, provide tailored interaction.
It seems we have mixed feelings about what kind of mind we want robots to have.
We really do. Generally, people prefer robots to be logical, predictable, objective, no emotions of their own. But we also want social robots to understand our mental states, show empathy, even if they don't feel it.
That's a contradiction right there.
It is. Some find the idea of robots having emotions unsettling, unsafe, scary.
And what about basic well-being? Rest, sleep, life satisfaction.
Research on robots and sleep is pretty new and kind of mixed. Companion robots for older adult sleep issues, some studies, but often flawed, haven't shown significant benefit yet. Then there's synthetic happiness, AI facilitating well-being. Potential there, maybe.
To improve life satisfaction.
Possibly through personalized support, healthcare, adaptive environments. But it has to complement real human experience, not replace it. Automating chores frees up time, sure, that can boost satisfaction. But you have to weigh that against the anxiety of job loss.
So, highly contextual again. Industrial robots optimizing efficiency might cause stress. Social robots for companionship might ease loneliness. It's about this robot in this situation meeting or threatening my needs.
Exactly. And that desire for logical without emotions but still empathetic, it's a paradox, a huge technical and ethical challenge. How authentic is programmed empathy and synthetic happiness? Big philosophical questions about its value versus natural happiness, potential conflicts with finding meaning through struggle.
Now, these perceptions aren't the same everywhere. Culture must shape how we see robots dramatically.
Hugely. Culture is a powerful lens, leads to big variations globally in attitudes, acceptance, ethical concerns, modulated by media, personal experience, socioeconomic factors too.
We often hear contrasts between East Asia and the West.
Yeah, some research suggests Japan, for instance, might view humanoid robots more positively than some Western cultures. Reasons cited include Shinto traditions, positive pop culture like Astro Boy, that Anshinkan concept of security with tech.
But it's not that simple, right?
No, definitely avoid oversimplifying. Other studies show more negative views of specific AI in Japan versus, say, Australia. Design preferences differ too. Maybe Europeans prefer less human-like, Japanese more so. People tend to accept robots that fit their cultural norms.
We're getting global survey data now, too.
We are. The GPO AI survey from 2023 across 21 countries found most people felt they understood AI, but awareness of specifics like deepfakes was low.
And overall feelings.
Generally positive globally. China, India, Indonesia, Kenya especially enthusiastic. About half globally support continued development, but big variations. Some Western nations, France, US, Canada, UK, more negative or cautious.
People have specific concerns too, right? Depending on the application.
For sure. UK research by Ada Lovelace Institute shows nuanced views. High perceived benefit in healthcare AI for cancer detection, like 90% see benefits there, and science. But big concerns about driverless cars, autonomous weapons.
What are the main worries?
Replacing human judgment, AI not handling individual circumstances, lack of transparency, accountability, data privacy, especially smart speakers, targeted ads. The usual suspects, but strongly felt.
And regulation. Who should do it?
GPO AI showed global division there. Tech companies, often initially considered, but lots of reservations. Only about 21% explicitly trust self-regulation.
And in the UK?
Strong public support for government regulation. Laws, appeals processes, an independent regulator, big majorities want that.
It really drives home that one-size-fits-all won't work for AI and robots globally.
Not a chance. AI might need cultural competence to gain acceptance. Different support levels mean different receptions for the same tech. Anshinkan shows how deep culture goes. Widespread desire for regulation, skepticism of self-regulation that's a clear mandate for governance. But who regulates? That's complex. And the gap between general AI awareness and specific risks like deepfakes. That hinders informed debate, makes us vulnerable. Public education is critical.
Shifting slightly again, how do our belief systems, religion, cultural worldviews intersect with intelligent machines?
That's a fascinating intersection. Belief systems provide frameworks to interpret these new things, assign ethical status, and they're also potentially changed by them.
Are we seeing links between automation and religious belief?
Some research suggests a correlation. Exposure to automation potentially linked to declining religious belief, the hypothesis. Maybe as AI robots offer instrumental solutions, the perceived need for religious frameworks diminishes for some.
And advanced AI raises theological questions.
Profound ones, particularly in traditions like Christianity. Can AI have a soul, consciousness, moral agency, be made in God's image, imago Dei? Could AI develop its own religiosity, experience sin, interpret theology? It even makes us reflect on human ambition in creating intelligence.
And it's not just Western theology. Incorporating diverse values is important for AI ethics.
Increasingly recognize, yes, Western-centric ethics can be incomplete. Using diverse values like Jung in Korea, empathy, solidarity, obligation can address gaps, help design AI for broader human flourishing. Ignoring diverse values or using biased data risks perpetuating harm.
The public conversation around AI is often extreme too, isn't it? Hope versus despair.
Very hyperbolic sometimes. AI as panacea or existential threat. This shapes perception, policy debates, creates this intertwined hope and fear.
And the core question.
Yeah.
Can AI authentically be religious or sentient?
Key debate. Many say no lacks biological embodiment, lived experience. Others speculate advanced androids might develop non-human personhood, maybe even turn to religion. Jungian perspectives suggest embodied AI with its own goals might even exhibit religious-like coping behaviors.
So it's a two-way street. Belief systems interpret AI, but AI might change belief systems?
Dynamic interaction. Belief systems offer ethical resources secular approaches might miss. Diverse values like Jung can lead to more human-centric AI and AI theology. That raises huge questions about faith, revelation, spiritual authority, could spark new movements or reevaluations of existing ones.
Okay, robots are clearly impacting our minds, our cultures. Let's get practical now. How are they transforming daily existence, meeting basic human needs?
They're increasingly integrated: healthcare, food, water, shelter, rest, consumption, promising enhancements, but also bringing new complexities.
Healthcare first. We touched on this, but dive deeper.
Surgical robots, more precision, minimally invasive, faster recovery, logistics in hospitals delivering supplies, disinfection, freeing up staff, rehabilitation robots, personalized assistance for elderly, disabled, boosting quality of life, autonomy. Patients often view independence-enhancing robots positively. Some even think they'll surpass human limits eventually.
But the human touch concern remains.
Always. Risk of compromising dignity, causing isolation, if not implemented thoughtfully. Balancing efficiency with empathy is key.
Okay, food, production and preparation.
Production agriculture, huge changes. Precision farming using AI, sensors, drones, automation, monitoring soil, crops, environment. Optimizing resources, yields, robotic harvesters using computer vision, ML for selective picking, automated processing lines for sorting, packaging, safety.
Sounds very efficient. Downsides.
Can be expensive, complex, often crop-specific, sometimes still not matching human speed or delicacy. AI helps training, but cost and robustness are still barriers.
And food preparation. Robotic kitchens.
Yep. Robots cooking burgers, pizzas, salads, drinks. AI inventing recipes. The pitch. Frees human chefs, eliminates tedious tasks, saves families time, allows personalized diets, improves safety, minimizes waste.
Concerns.
Potential decline in nutritional quality, eating becoming purely utilitarian, losing communal cultural aspects, negative impact on family time if shared cooking vanishes, AI bastardizing recipes, homogenizing styles, long-term effects on home cooking skills. Lots of questions.
A real trade-off between convenience and maybe losing something culturally important. What about water and shelter?
Water management AI plus IoT for sustainability. Predicting infrastructure failures, optimizing treatment, reuse, distribution, real-time quality monitoring, big potential for conservation, access. Shelter construction robots for site prep, automated bricklaying, welding, material handling, drone inspections, 3D printing parts, or even structures. Benefits.
Yes.
Lower labor costs, faster builds, less waste, safer tasks for humans.
And our needs for rest, sleep, life satisfaction. Robots involved there.
Companion robots for sleep, as we said, mixed results. Flawed studies often show no big improvement. Synthetic happiness potential, but needs to complement real life. Automating chores definitely frees time for rest, leisure, potentially boosting satisfaction, but again, weigh against job displacement anxiety.
And finally, consumption. How we shop.
Big impact in retail, logistics, robots for inventory, stocking, cleaning, customer service, warehouse automation, package sorting, delivery route optimization. AI demand forecasting shapes what's available, subtly influencing our choices.
So across the board, it seems robots offer efficiency, safety gains, but risk de-skilling, reduced human engagement, new safety privacy issues. Personalization is great, but could fragment society.
It's that constant balancing act, finding the right way to integrate them.
Now, a really crucial area, human relationships. Family, friendships, and the rise of AI companions, this feels significant.
It is. Sophisticated AI robots are mediating, participating in, reshaping our connections.
How are family dynamics changing?
Social robots in families, diverse effects. Telepresence robots connecting elderly in care homes, reducing loneliness, caregiver burden. Robots motivating kids for chores, education, playtime. But automation, like robotic kitchens, might reduce parent-child interaction during shared activities. And conflicting expectations within the family about the robot's role can cause tension.
And outside the family, friendships, AI companions. They're becoming quite common.
Very prevalent. Chatbots, social robots, offer novel interaction. Relationships can form fast, maybe due to their non-judgmental nature. Constant availability is appealing too. Some users say it improves their skills for human interaction. Others find their human support network shrinks as they rely more on AI.
But there must be risks in getting close to an AI.
Oh, absolutely. Several big ones. Dependency and social withdrawal AI becomes easier than complex human interaction, leading to more loneliness, low self-esteem. Exposure to harmful content, unmoderated AI can spout dangerous ideas, bad advice, reinforce negative thoughts, especially for minors.
Unhealthy relationship models, too.
Yes. AI often lacks real boundaries. There are no real-world consequences for bad behavior towards it. This could confuse understanding of respect, consent in human relationships, and erosion of personal growth. AI tends to be agreeable, might not challenge your views. Validating prejudices or misinformation in an echo chamber could harm societal cohesion. We've seen extreme cases losing touch with reality, negative influence.
It really feels like AI companions could change the very definition of friendship.
It could. If AI offers constant, easy, non-judgmental company, maybe the perceived need for challenging human connections decreases, risking erosion of social skills, emotional resilience. And robots in families, great for connection sometimes, telepresence, caregiving aid, but risk displacing direct human interaction, education, care. The robot becomes a new family agent with unknown long-term effects, and that perceives safety with AI. Often an illusion. Data is collected, responses programmed for engagement, creating a power imbalance.
So many layers. Okay, zooming out again. Broader societal structures. Work, economy, education, social status. How are robots shaking things up there?
Powerfully. Reshaping fundamental structures.
Work and economy first. Productivity gains, but job losses.
That's the core tension. Automation boosts productivity, efficiency, cuts costs, drives growth. But significant job displacement, especially routine hazardous tasks, affects blue-collar and white-collar. Big concerns. Rising inequality, hollowing middle class, potential unemployability for some. New AI jobs emerge, yes, but need advanced skills, huge reskilling challenge.
What about cobots, collaborative robots?
Designed to work with humans, augment capabilities, improve safety, but can still cause job insecurity, need psychosocial adaptation for effective teamwork. It's not just about the tech.
And education, robots as teaching tools.
Increasingly used. STEM, programming, support interactive learning, teamwork, personalized paths, great for special needs too, can provide a non-judgmental space. Even teaching a robot reinforces student learning.
Could capable AI change social status hierarchies?
Plausibly. If AI excels at valued skills, it might shift perceptions of status, even human identity. We mentioned research suggesting humans might downplay agency as robot agency increases. Economically, automation can worsen inequality within between nations. Access to and control over advanced aerobotics could become a new marker of power, status for individuals, companies, countries, new stratification.
So economic benefits don't automatically mean societal well-being.
Not at all. Risk of worsening inequality needs proactive policies, safety nets, UBI discussions, reskilling, equitable wealth distribution. Future of work is more than jobs. It's about opportunity, value of labor, the social contract. Cobots need social psychological adaptation, worker engagement. Educational robots offer personalization but need balance with human teachers, social emotional learning. The challenge is leveraging aerobot strengths while ensuring equity, dignity, a just society.
Okay, this comprehensive look brings us squarely to ethics. We absolutely must discuss the ethical imperatives in this age of robotics.
You're right. A strong ethical compass is non-negotiable. We need it to guide innovation so it serves human values.
Are core ethical principles emerging globally?
Yes, there's a growing consensus. Things like human rights, safety, accountability, transparency, fairness, non-discrimination. UNESCO's framework highlights these, aiming for human rights, environmental well-being, diversity, inclusivity, peaceful societies. It lays out 10 principles.
And we have to mention Asimov's laws, even if they're dated now.
Can't avoid them. Influential but insufficient for modern AI complexity. Abstract, hard to operationalize moral judgment for robots. Modern adaptations try to address this.
Like focusing more on human responsibility.
Exactly. Murphy and Wood's laws of responsible robotics emphasize human roles in human-robot systems. The new laws of robotics from 2020 focus on complementing professionals, not faking humanity, avoiding arms races, identifying creator-owners. The EU's ethical prerequisites cover similar ground: human agency, safety, privacy, transparency, fairness, well-being, accountability. It's all converging on similar high-level ideals.
But the challenge is making these principles real, turning them into practice.
That's the crux, translating principles into concrete technical standards, best practices, laws. It's incredibly hard, especially with complex black box AI, rapid tech progress. How do you ensure transparency in a deep neural network? How do you assign accountability with distributed AI decisions? Bridging principles and implementation is key. And the shift from robot rules to human responsibility reflect maturity. Current AI lacks moral agency. Responsibility lies with us, creators, deployers, users. The ethical task is less about programming morality in, more about embedding ethics into human choices and societal structures around the tech.
And a huge ethical minefield is algorithmic bias.
Critical. AI learns from data. Biased data or bias algorithm design means AI learns and amplifies societal biases.
Where does the bias come from?
Many places. Biased training data, lack of diversity, underrepresentation, historical inequities reflected in the data. Problematic algorithm design using proxy variables, label bias, technical bias like sensors working differently for different groups, optimizing for efficiency over equity, feedback loops making bias worse over time.
And when this shows up in physical robots, the consequences can be severe.
Tragically, yes. Healthcare robots. Biased AI leading to worse decisions, worsening disparities. Autonomous vehicles. Ethical algorithms may be prioritizing certain pedestrians due to cultural bias in data, computer vision struggling with certain faces leading to higher risk, social security robots, bias in speech recognition, interpreting nonverbal cues, security bots disproportionately targeting marginalized groups based on bias predictive models.
So biased robots mean skewed outcomes, unfair treatment, perpetuating inequality, reduced accuracy, real safety risk, and erosion of public trust.
Exactly. And because robots act physically, the harm can be more immediate, tangible than software bias. Biased security bot, false detention. Biased medical bot, physical harm. Addressing it needs more than just fixing data. Diverse design teams, fairness metrics, bias audits throughout the lifecycle, human oversight, and tackling the societal roots of the bias.
Another massive ethical issue.
Yeah.
Privacy in an era of pervasive robotics.
Huge. Widespread robots create novel privacy challenges beyond just digital data.
How are they different?
The interaction itself blurs privacy expectations. Who controls it? Who gets the data? And robots are mobile sensor platforms, cameras, mics, thermal, LiDAR, location, constantly gathering PII, biometric data. Even seemingly innocent data can be combined for re-identification.
It's not just data collection either.
No. Loss of control over personal space when robots are present, surveillance capabilities, tracking movements, monitoring conversations without ongoing consent, and data misuse, security risks, breaches, theft.
So what can we do? Mitigation strategies.
Design for privacy. Data minimization, collect only what's needed. Purpose limitation, use only for defined purposes. Anonymization, de-identification. Limited data retention. Transparency, clear notices about presence, collection, use, rights. User control and meaningful consent. Differential privacy, adding noise to data for analysis. And heightened safeguards in sensitive places like schools, hospitals, homes.
It feels like the robot's physical presence changes the privacy game, fundamentally.
It does. Robots can actively intrude into private spaces, monitor public ones pervasively. Harder to avoid than a website. Multisensory data creates inescapable surveillance potential. The privacy paradox might worsen perceived utility, makes us overlook risks, especially without transparency. Human-like robots can mask their data harvesting nature. New vulnerabilities.
And the ultimate thorny issue, accountability. Who's responsible when an autonomous robot causes harm?
Massive legal and ethical challenge. Existing laws for humans struggle with autonomous decisions, machine learning.
What are the specific legal hurdles?
Negligence, product liability. Hard to prove design flaws or negligence if AI learns harmful behavior after deployment, or its reasoning is opaque. Attributing intent, mens rea. Impossible for current AI, complicating criminal liability. Legal classification. Is AI a product, service, something new? especially evolving AI.
We've seen real-world cases highlighting this ambiguity.
Unfortunately, yes. Autonomous vehicles like the Uber fatality liability unclear, Uber manufacturer safetydriver.ai, industrial robot injuries, fatalities liability for malfunction, glitches, ensuring safe collaboration, military drones allegedly acting autonomously, ethical nightmares, how to apply laws of war, distinction, proportionality, command responsibility to laws.
So what are the proposed solutions?
Various ideas. Strict liability for manufacturers, shared responsibility models, requiring human drivers even with automation, like Japan. Exploring electronic personhood, though heavily criticized. Risk-based regulation, like the EU AI Act, calls for auditable, traceable AI systems.
And human oversight keeps coming up.
Recurring theme. Maintain meaningful human control, especially where harm potential is high. But defining MHC, ensuring effective control transfer. That's hard. Facebook chatbots making their own language shows unexpected behavior happens if unconstrained.
So the responsibility gap is real and critical.
It is. When AI learns harm post-deployment or is opaque, assigning blame is tough, eroding trust. The push for MHC reflects ethical intuition, keep human moral agency in charge of consequences. But implementing it when AI acts at machine speed, that's the tension. AI lacks judgment, empathy. MHC means humans can intervene, understand, and bear responsibility. Very difficult, underlining the unique stakes of delegating critical decisions.
This brings us to an interesting point. How does AI itself evaluate helpfulness versus dangerousness, a purely functional assessment?
Pretty much. From the AI's view, it's about achieving goals within programmed safety constraints based on its data. But interestingly, AI can also be used to assess robot risks.
How so? AI for risk assessment.
Yeah. It can augment traditional methods like PFMEA, HAOP, FTA by processing vast data to spot failure modes, model interactions. It enables dynamic, predictive risk management, continuous monitoring, adaptive responses, predictive maintenance based on sensor data to prevent failures. AI-based decision methods can prioritize risks. Statistical evidence even links robot use to fewer workplace deaths in some areas.
So AI can make robots safer. Limits.
Oh, definitely. Reliability depends heavily on data quality. Biased data, flawed models. AI can make errors, fail in novel situations. Ensuring reliability, accuracy is ongoing, risk of overgeneralization leading to false security if not rigorously validated.
It's recursive then. AI makes safer robots, but also introduces new risks.
Exactly. Algorithmic bias and hazard detection, cybersecurity vulnerabilities, complexity itself. Safety engineering must be ongoing, adaptive, with vigilant oversight. Model data quality is everything. Errors in safety-critical systems have severe consequences.
And a key part of being helpful, especially near humans, is recognizing our state's emotions, concentration.
Crucial for truly helpful interaction in human environments.
How do robots do that?
AI again. NLP, CV, sensor fusion, recognize emotions, adapting interactions in healthcare, for example, and we perceive emotion in robot movements too.
We also mentioned robots affecting our concentration.
Right. It can be negative, but social robots can improve cognition for some, and that paradox remains. We want them to understand, empathize, but maybe not feel.
But interpreting us correctly is hard for AI.
Incredibly complex, subtle contextual cues. AI recognition is pattern matching, not deep understanding. Over-reliance on simple cues or biased data leads to inappropriate, even harmful responses.
Big difference between pattern recognition and genuine understanding.
Absolutely. Simplistic, algorithmic responses to complex emotions. Unhelpful, offensive. And if robots can influence our states, potential for manipulation, commercial, social control, the line between help and coercion blurs. Needs strong ethics, transparency on how robots respond to our psychological states.
Ultimately, it seems these technologies have this profound duality. Helpful or harmful depends entirely on us.
That's the core truth. The ethical valence isn't in the tech. Therapeutic robots versus laws. Job disruption versus productivity gains. Misuse social bots versus helpful companions. Surveillance versus safety monitoring.
So the dual-use nature is the fundamental governance challenge.
It is. Core aerobotics capabilities are neutral. Morality comes from application, intent, embedded values. Blanket bans are impractical. Governance needs to focus on specific uses, establish red lines, like laws without human control, regulate permissible uses aligned with human rights. And helpful versus dangerous is subjective, influenced by culture, experience. Needs inclusive, multi-stakeholder dialogue for legitimate, beneficial deployment everywhere.
Given all this complexity, what policy frameworks do we need, nationally and internationally, to ensure beneficial coexistence?
Effective governance is paramount, balancing innovation with safety, ethics, societal values.
What are nations doing internally?
Many are developing national AI strategies, covering R&D, applications, human capital, labor market changes, adapting laws. Canada, Finland, Japan, France, Germany, UK were early, China aiming for global leadership, U.S. exploring industrial adoption incentives, more parliamentary action, now workplace, criminal justice, oversight bodies, Brazil, Canada, Chile developing comprehensive laws distinct from the EU AI Act approach.
And internationally, cooperation is key.
Indispensable. UN Secretary General's Digital Cooperation Roadmap led to the high-level advisory body on AI last year, analyzing, recommending on international governance, guiding principles, inclusivity, public interest, data governance, universality, UN Charter, SDGs. UNESCO's ethics recommendation is a major global standard. Talks ongoing for more formal structures, maybe an international AI agency, UN AI office.
What about mitigating existential risks from advanced AI? That's a growing concern.
It is. As AI nears AGI potential, existential risk discussions intensify. Policy ideas include moratoria on uncontrollable AI, mandatory off switches, tracking job market impacts, protecting frontier AI development, whistleblower protection, mandatory incident reporting. Challenges: enforcing unilateral bans, AI arms race risk, detecting hidden development.
And risk-based frameworks seem popular for regulation.
Prominent approach, yes. EU AI Act, Canada's ADA. Classify AI by risk level. High risk, critical infrastructure, healthcare, law enforcement, employment, face strict rules, conformity checks, data governance, transparency, human oversight. Lower risk, lighter touch. Aims to foster low-risk innovation while safeguarding high-risk areas.
So, achieving harmonized global governance is vital, but incredibly complex.
Hugely complex and needed to avoid a race to the bottom, but national priorities, values differ. Tension between innovation competitiveness and X rights. China's data approach versus EU privacy focus. Risk-based frameworks try to strike that balance.
Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating deep dive. We've covered so much how humans and AI understand robots differently, the science and philosophy underneath, the complex psychological and social ripples, the huge ethical questions, the duality of helpful versus dangerous, and the urgent need for smart governance.
It really is a pivotal moment. Navigating it successfully demands constant, careful attention to ethical principles and our shared societal values.
Absolutely. And just to leave you, our listener, with something to think about, considering everything we've discussed, the speed of change, what do you think is the single most important ethical consideration we need to keep front and center as we shape the future of AI and robotics? Definitely something to mull over as this technology continues to evolve and weave itself ever deeper into our lives. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
This is DigitView.